Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to a Thursday. I know it is Thursday because there's a bespectacled gent sitting next to me named Sokolowski, who's always here on Thursdays.
On Thursdays.
Hi,
yes.
Tom. How you doing?
Fine.
You got a
very
haircut,
good.
I can tell.
No, not 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Really?
Yes.
Why do you look more... I don't know. Never mind.
Do you have the incipient glaucoma? Isn't your arm enough?
Yeah. Oh, God, I'm falling apart.
Poor Lynn, yes.
Bit by bit. Okay, so here, I got to ask you this question. Wait, I got to turn my thing up, too. I'm also going deaf. Okay, so I have to ask you a question.
Yes, please.
When I drove in today, and I saw a couple.
Yes.
I put them in their 50s,
Mm-hmm.
and they were walking purposefully down the sidewalk. They didn't look like a regular kind of Pittsburgh. They looked like they were visiting.
Okay.
They just didn't look like Pittsburghers. I'm sorry, but they could have been.
Yes.
I don't know. And they were holding hands.
Oh, nice.
Okay. So that's what I noticed. They were holding hands and walking. And it's not like they were holding hands lovey-dovey and walking. They were holding hands as if it's that they wouldn't even consider walking down the street without holding hands. Do you know what I mean? How some couples...
Not really.
Well, let me try to get to it. Okay. If there are couples who literally that is how they walk. They have to have their hands together.
Mm-hmm.
I always find that weird.
I don't know. I mean, it's
not like they're having a lovey-dovey
No,
moment.
I know what
you
you're
know?
saying.
It's just, and then they got to an intersection and they dropped hands for a second, but then the minute they started crossing the street, bang, their hands went together, and they weren't like infirm or anything.
Oh, okay, I was going to say.
No. And I've seen that before, and part of me says, wistfully, I wonder what that must be like to be so attached. To be so, literally, to be so attached that
Well,
you
part
can't
of it may
walk
be-
without holding hands.
Well, do you think maybe
Wait,
part of it was that if they're, a little bit older?
Oh, that they were downtown in a strange
Well,
city?
no. Well,
it didn't-
maybe, but I
it
mean,
didn't
maybe.
look like
Well,
that.
no, I didn't mean that so much, but that maybe in their youth, their parents told them that this is a proper thing when you're like in a city where there are lots of people, not so much out of danger, but just as a kind of politesse to the lady.
Right, that the man
Yeah,
takes her hand.
you
I don't know. It's funny because while I look at it somewhat wistfully and with some, it also mystifies me.
Yes, yes.
All my reactions are mystification,
Yes.
wistfulness,
Wistfulness, yes.
and then a sense of...
And then you hear the Beatles.
Yeah,
I want to hold your hand.
Yeah, but then a sense of confinement. Like I would lose my mind if I were attached like that, literally, physically attached to another human being all the time.
Well, but you said when they stopped at the corner, they...
For a second, they
Well, I know,
parted
but
me.
that doesn't mean like when
If I were still-
she's making bacon and eggs, he's holding on to her hand. I mean... No, or maybe in the public,
Right,
like,
it's
like
in
the one thing I
public,
remember
right.
my father telling me when I was a young kid, that the man always walks on the traffic
street
side of the
side. Right,
street
that's
to
true.
protect the lady.
That's true. But it's not so much to protect it's to protect the lady from if a
Splashing?
car
Oh, I
splashes
see.
water or something.
Well, then I move. Here comes a car, Brenda.
I mean, I've walked with men who do that. They clearly, they even like sort of run to get
Circumvent,
back
yeah,
on the
right.
right side to be, and I find that sort of endearing, actually.
Well,
but
it's a level
I don't
of manners.
want to. Yeah,
Like I remember my father always wore, well, not last year's was
a
like, but-
fedora.
yeah, and well, that was part of it. But also, whenever he would be wearing a fedora and walking like to
And a
church or
suit and
something,
tie.
he would tip his hat when, and it would be even if there was a young girl or something. And I always thought that was
Isn't that
just
adorable?
so genteel.
It was. It is.
And this was a working class guy. This was not.
Do you know my father
Yes.
was a very dignified man.
Uh-huh.
He never owned a pair of jeans.
Well,
I
no, but
can't
given
even
his age,
imagine him in
though-
jeans. Well, a lot of men his age had.
Well,
he
but
was
they probably
always,
worked in the mills. Your
All
father
right.
was a businessman.
Right. He was always dressed.
Well, would you go out in a halter top now?
Hell, no, and I wouldn't even do it when I was
Well,
young.
but I'm saying
Yes,
that's
yes,
relative.
right,
I'm sure,
right.
like
Okay.
I'm sure Jess goes on the halter top. I mean, she's young and she's comely, but still, it's a generational.
Right.
You know, and I think it's like, you know.
Speaking of Jess, the reason you didn't hear a giggle when he said that is she ain't here. She's vacating.
On the beaches.
On the beach. Oh, speaking of the beaches, there was the funniest. I know this is an old story. I don't know why they resurrected it. It's a Washington Post story. I remember making such fun of this. It was back in maybe about 3 years ago. Let's see.
And they're running it now in the Post-Gazette. How typical.
Well, no.
It's news, guys. 3 years ago.
It's like an update.
McKinley
on this
is
story.
president.
I think it's an update on this story. And there's a picture of these, these McMansion-y 3-level weird homes that they build along the ocean front.
Oh, right, sure.
You know those
the
homes,
ones that
right?
get washed into the
Yeah,
by
those.
whatever.
Those.
Oh, yes. Oh, they're horrible.
They're horrible. They're
They
ugly
look
as
like
hell.
cat houses.
I know, but I have with friends rented
Oh, okay.
homes like that for a week.
When you have 20 people. And you
Yeah,
can spread them out,
yeah. And it's fun for a week, whatever. But I do find them hideous. And I remember when I did first see them at the Outer Banks, and this is a picture of the Outer Banks, I thought, what are these people thinking? What in heaven's name are they thinking? Because they were still constructing more of them.
Yeah, right, sure.
Cheek to jowl, these huge places.
So then where's the beach
right on
if it looks like
Well,
Garfield?
I mean, I'm thinking, are you nuts? This thing is going to be in the
away.
water. And
And yet the minute they crashed them down, like after, what was it? I can forget the name now. What was that one?
Katrina,
that,
maybe.
No. What was the one that did New Jersey and that?
I don't remember.
Sydney? Sammy?
No.
It was something with S, I thought.
Hortense.
Sunny. No.
Sunny. Would that be a ridiculous name for a hurricane?
Ida's better.
Ah! But Sunny.
Well, that's true. No, but what was the last one?
I don't know. It doesn't matter. Who can remember?
Sandy.
Sandy.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
you're right. Okay, all right.
I knew it was an S.
All right.
But anyway, the minute they crashed down, they start building them up again.
I know.
Just like
It's
Malibu.
insanity.
Man was not made
Okay,
to live on
it's
stilts
insanity.
on a cliff that's going to fall down in every other way, every other week. You know?
So this is it. So back there was, I don't know how this happened. There was a Democratic governor of North Carolina, and he was nearing the end of his term, and he did, create some kind of scientific panel that was supposed to look at the Outer Banks and all the other, coastal areas, and to tell the public servants in the legislature what probably was inevitable, and so that they might be able to make some wise public policy
Zoning
decisions. And so they did, and they came out with a report saying that in 100 years, the ocean would rise by 39 inches or more, which would literally mean that the Outer Banks are gone.
Right.
They're gone. Well, an uproar was heard, mostly from the realtors on the Outer Banks.
Yeah, exactly.
Realtors.
Coldwell Banker.
Right. Went nuts. And they marched on, what's the capital of North Carolina? Capital of North Carolina
Raleigh, isn't it?
Really?
Well.
Good for you. I don't know what it is. I couldn't even name a city.
Raleigh, Chapel Hill, Durham.
Oh, God. Oh, my God. We got to put you in a geography bee.
Well, I wanted to go on that. Remember that thing when you?
Oh, that's right. Well, you
never
can
did.
you can see how good I would have been. Jeez.
Oh, but you would know who like the third senator was in 1948, which I.
Well, that I might.
You see?
Yeah, I would know
See.
the senators and stuff. Okay, so
what
anyway,
were they
so
protesting?
listen to this. They were
Scientific facts?
protesting it. They were saying, "How dare you do this? You're destroying our livelihood. This is insane." And they actually got the Republican-controlled state legislature to reject
Wow.
the report and say this is not true, so that it is not.
So on their heads, every dead person, every destroyed house, every Shih Tzu.
I think they had to
carried
take
away
out
by
even the
water.
words like climate change had to be.
Oh my God.
There couldn't be anything about oceans rising. I mean, it was
Well,
politics absolutely
oddly
trumping
pertinent to
science.
this. Did you see the picture? It was in the paper, I think the Times on Monday, about with water recension from the coast, I guess it was the ocean coast of Wales, they found tree stumps from
Oh yes,
forest 5,000 years ago.
prehistoric.
5,000 years, not like 500.
Oh no, it's not. Oh,
It was
just
5,000.
5,000.
Yeah, that's long enough. But anyway, you could see the stumps of these trees.
And they had been inundated by the.
and now you could. I guess it was like something like a block off of the coast. Now that far the water had receded.
Yeah.
And so there had been trees, and then they found animal footprints. So there was civilization there. Well, animalization, if that's a word.
Right, but so they were saying. So here in North Carolina, they're saying. I mean, when I went there. There were times when the only one road cutting through some of these was flooded.
Inundated,
Yeah, right. Yeah, you flooded and you couldn't. Or they use snow plows
to push the water
push
off?
the sand.
Oh, the sand.
Because if it wasn't water, it was sand.
I see.
So I'm looking at all this and thinking, hello. I mean, yeah, you idiots. And then, you
all
see.
that for some water and a Hebrew national hot dog. Well, maybe not in North Carolina.
No, but you see that. You see that, and you realize the level of absolute denial.
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody, there it is, the water already inundating the one roadway,
sure.
and there, right off to the right, is another one of these humongous
But it's
houses
sort of like,
being
don't fuck with my
built.
holiday.
That's right. So here's a quote that I saw in
Pardon
this
my French.
Here's a quote. Okay, some guy realtor out there says, all right, so obviously if things get to a certain extent, then abandonment is the only
Recourse.
the only answer. But here's the quote. You're going to tell people that they have to move away? Preaching abandonment to these people is absurd. People would go in their closet and get their guns out.
To shoot the ocean.
What? To shoot
Damn
the
you,
ocean!
ocean. Bang,
Yeah,
bang,
right, what? There it is in a nutshell.
Yeah.
The whole stupidity, the delusion, the gun nuttery, the whole dang thing.
That's
You
ridiculous.
can't tell me to leave my home.
Oh, was I in my home?
As the
my
ocean
oasis
rises
of
out
pleasure.
as the ocean.
Well, haven't they
Oh,
ever
well,
heard of Pompeii? I mean,
Well,
it's the same thing. Well, no, it is. Pompeii was built on the Bay of Naples, which is very pretty.
Right
but
at
also,
the base of
the volcano
Mount
has
Etna,
still
right.
been going off.
Or was
And
that
the-
Mount Etna? Or Vesuvius?
Etna's in Sicily, but it's a lovely place. So until we have to move, and then lava was faster than they were.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah, I mean, they were actually they found their
79
bodies.
AD, I think.
You know what? They found couples walking down the
Oh
street
yeah,
holding
yeah,
hands.
yeah. Well,
And there they
you're
are.
fixated on this. Who wants to hold Lynn Cullen's one hand?
Yeah, right.
her right hand. So you have to be left-handed men. Get out there. She needs a man.
I do not, and
To
I
stroll
don't
with
want
her.
somebody touching my hands all the time and having to. How do
Just
people
on the
do
street
that?
to protect you, dear.
Ugh. Oh yeah, right.
Yes, our Amazon here. Our clipped wing Amazon.
So, it was a big soccer game at noon. I
That's
know,
what- no,
that's
no,
so
no,
funny
no,
to look
no,
at
I
your
know, I know. I've
You're
always
enough of a
seen that.
European
I know.
Euro-file.
No, I have to admit, you want to believe this? I never look at
The sports
unless
page.
it's some person coming out as gay a struggle, like the guy one of them who bit the other one the other day.
You like that stuff.
I like,
okay,
or
right.
like some coach who's like Sandusky buggered half the sheep in Wisconsin. Or I find the soccer thing interesting.
Okay.
But
now,
I know U.S. is going to Germany, and there was something on the news last night, I think it was, or in the paper, that some people are predicting that because the American coach, albeit for 18 years, is German, that
half the U.S. team is German.
That they may somehow
collude?
to do a tie.
No, it turns out that apparently it is raining like.
Oh dear.
The
Where
one
is this game?
I don't know. It's in the middle
Manaus,
of God knows where, right?
Awful.
And apparently the roads are flooded. This is what
dear.
made me think of it. And they might have to call the game.
Oh, really? But it's a midday game, not.
It's at noon, and Chuck
Oh.
writes, please tell everyone that they have my permission to knock off early for lunch and head straight to their favorite sports bar to watch the USA play Germany. Oh, he says at 11.
Oh, really?
I thought it was...
USA! But, it's interesting. I've been reading in this because I do find soccer more interesting. You know what's horrible?
Why?
Wait a minute. What I hate about American sports, except for basketball, is that...
It stops.
Well, it's all that boring stopping and panels and signs and,
Yeah. You
where
want a game just
soccer
to
is
go back
going,
and
going,
forth,
going.
back and forth.
You know
But
what
that's like
they said?
hockey, too.
Well, that's true.
All
That's
right.
true, except they have those sticks. They bash people. But it was interesting how many articles have been out. You see, I've been reading that bit of sports paper about really meanness, like people kicking someone with their cleat. Or this jerk who bites people.
Well, you know what? There was an interesting piece about...
And the other one showing the bite mark.
You know what? The thing with these soccer players, they're always like, what a bunch of, what do they call that? Scenery chewers. I mean, what hams?
Right.
He bit my...
Well, they
and
did
then
it.
the guy
it
who
made
bit,
me hurt, but also
Yeah,
he
but-
knew it could get the guy kicked out.
I know, but then the guy who bit is like this.
Oh, that's right. I saw that.
They're both acting like it's the worst thing in the world.
What's interesting is they say that there's much more, and they were saying that maybe the American team needs to learn this. A lot of like going after the best players to
try to disable them. But I did read a fact.
Mean boys in short pants.
Just
Well, that's
putting things in
part of the-
perspective. The average human being, Tom, not that you're average, but I mean just...
Oh, of course I'm not. I'm very below average. But
No, you're not. Tom.
Yes.
You have
Yes.
more of a chance in your lifetime
Yes.
of being bitten by this soccer player than of being bitten by a shark. I'm not kidding. Someone figured that out.
Well, I might find him in some insalubrious bar biting me on the shoulder with a love bite.
I'm telling you,
as opposed to go on a boat trying to catch marlin and a shark jumps up and...
I read that somewhere. So
Well,
it
they
must
had
be
all
true.
those pictures showing the guy, the biter, in like a shark's on the Jaws poster.
Well, I personally can't. I hope the U.S. wins.
That
I mean,
would be nice.
It's a bunch of nice.
Well, did you know?
Nice,
I heard this on NPR yesterday that in 1951, the American team
Did
won,
win?
and it won over, I think it was Britain. So like a team with soccer is a big deal, and that at that point, soccer was very popular in Pittsburgh. And this fellow who they talked to must have been 89 or something if he was playing in 51. Maybe 90-something.
Soccer in Pittsburgh?
Well, they were saying that in towns where there were
a lot
appreciable
of
Europeans whose families they had played as kids, it was popular.
That makes sense.
And Pittsburgh had one of the better teams, according to this fellow.
Well, there you have it. I read
Tom
somewhere.
Sokolowski knew something about sports when she's always chastising me when I don't know who Hoot Ramsey is or one of these people who play these sports. Like,
Hoot
well, they have
Ramsey?
names like that. I just know what the rapist's name is, Roethlisberger.
Oh, my God.
Oh, everyone says
He's
that.
now a family man. He has to... Hey!
That look of evil and chagrin. Hey!
We don't think anymore about those incidents, in the
we don't.
bathroom.
Oh, we don't. Oh, we
we don't. The lawsuits. No. He's a father. He settled down. He married a nice
It's probably the
Pittsburgh
devil's
girl.
spawn.
All right, stop it. He seems to have finally grown up. All right. We're going to take a break.
Now he'll only go after senior citizen ladies.
Will you stop?
So watch out, Lynn. He might have walked down the street and hold your hand. Lynn, Ben Roethlisberger, if you're listening, Lynn wants you to gallivant down Smithfield Street holding her hand.
His large paw.
Yes, really.
All
Does
right.
he have his teeth left in his mouth?
Will you stop? It's brains in his head that I would worry about.
Well, you said it, O Queen, not I.
Yes, indeedy. All right, enough of this nonsense. We're going to go to some other nonsense of the commercial variety.
Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com or call Lynn at 412-316-3381. Lynn Cullen Live will return in a moment.
Download the brand new CP Haps app and find out what's going on in Pittsburgh. It's the fun and free app that puts the most popular events at your fingertips. Text events to 77948 to download now and register to win tickets to Pittsburgh versus Arizona at PNC Park on July 2nd. The CP Haps app, brought to you by Pittsburgh City Paper.
All right, I've gone through all the tracks. Just move through the beats. Do your thing.
All right, everyone, let's hear it for West High's own Brooke Turner, a.k.a. DJ Hook.
Scratching at my first school dance takes confidence. So we're getting into college. I've got what it takes. So do you.
Visit knowhowtogo.org to learn what you should be doing right now to prepare for college. Start taking the steps at knowhowtogo.org. Brought to you by the American Council on Education, Lumina Foundation, and the Ad Council.
Now, it's back to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com.
Tom was about to start a discourse on
Pornography
Japanese
in
sexual
Japan.
perversions.
No, I said in the City Paper today they have this one section, those of you who are avid readers of it, called something like Weird News from Everywhere. And one was that one of the most popular videos watched in Japan is a video of the nether regions of beavers. And partly because beavers are thought to be cute. Kawaii is the word for cute. And cute is very big in Japan.
Cute's big because and that's what they're always these disgusting things that come our way.
Well, what's interesting is
they're always big eyes and cute little,
But the biggest, what do you call it, consumers of anything is this group of young girls that are called mija, who are sort of, 14 to 17, and they go out, they buy a storm, whether it's clothing or tchotchkes or those, Happy Cat things. But what's interesting, we went on from that to pornography, and some of you may have been reading in the last few days that the Japanese Diet, the parliament, vetoed a lot of pornography that was coming through video and magazines, etc. But there was a lobbyist on the part of manga being comic books, that are big sellers. Like you see them on the subway all the time. Very thick. And they often have
you go to Barnes and Noble and they have a whole section.
But what's very interesting about them is they're very sexual, and they have scenes of intercourse and men ejaculating, but they never show a Japanese person. That it's always a white person. Like the story's about 3 kids from Kyoto, and then when it comes to
the sex,
they're
white.
Yeah, so it's very interesting. It's a sort of very racist thing. But no, manga are big sellers. I once did a small show on manga when I was in New York, and they're fascinating.
Weird.
Well, but it's interesting. In New York, you see the same phenomenon. In the Hispanic community, there is this whole tradition of telenovelas, which are sort of like our soap operas. But they then translate those into soap opera comic books. Mm. And you often see in the subway people reading these, but they're photographic of real people. And I remember once during the height of the AIDS crisis, this was very smart actually, one of the agencies did a whole soap opera vignettes in the subway, and they'd appear like every month, of like Hector, Amalia, and Jesus. One guy was gay, one guy was
and so it was a public health campaign.
Yeah, and it was sort of, what's happening with Amalia? Is she HIV positive? And everyone would wait for the day they'd come out.
Well, that's
it was
smart.
very clever.
Yeah,
and they were
that's
funny
smart.
And
wow. Okay.
So.
Just because you mentioned, Roethlisberger and football.
And his
Will you stop?
peregrinations.
Just stop.
in Toulouse.
I came upon, you know, all this stuff that's going on where the players are starting to, sue the NFL and sue
for concussions
for
and whatever,
the fact that they're going to be drooling idiots by
Well,
the age of 40. Well, it's
no,
true.
no, I agree.
Okay.
I think they should.
Well, listen, this is the saddest. Oh my God.
Look, I stop you for a second. I would say what's even worse, at least Roethlisberger and all of these, they're making $1 zillion. So in a sense, they know what they're doing. But to me, what's worse is kids, everything from, kids football or soccer to college. And these people aren't being paid.
They know what they're doing, but okay.
Well, now
they
this whole
throw in
scandal.
their lot with it when they themselves are children, essentially,
No, right.
too.
Well, and
Gifted
even now, this
children.
whole scandal, and I stand totally with the players here.
Yeah.
Tom Sokolowski is standing with the sports players, can you believe it? Who are trying to get, amateur college athletics to pay them.
Yes.
And these stupid universities saying, oh, well, they're just bitching because the money is there. But these kids are not making any money. All right, they may be getting some full scholarships. They're getting, in many instances, terrible educations because they're in, like home economics is their major. And
they're getting wounded.
And they're getting terribly wounded,
right,
sometimes irreparably.
Right. So this guy,
It's disgusting.
Ben Utecht, I have to admit I don't know him. He played for, he's 32 years old now. That's young.
Well, it's terribly young, yeah.
He's already retired from the wonderful. Okay, wait. Retired from football. He played for the Colts and he played for the Bengals. And he has written a letter to his wife and daughters when he was still in his right mind. So he knows he's heading into a period where he might not even recognize them.
Terrible.
And he knows that because his career ended because of a concussion, a bad concussion in 2009, where he was 8 months in rehab, battling amnesia, dizziness, blah, 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 blah. And now his memory is clearly going. He's 32. And he said he knew he was in terrible trouble when he was going through a scrapbook at his house, and there was a wedding pictures, and he was in them.
His wedding pictures.
It wasn't his, it was a friend. And he said, page after page, I was in disbelief, seeing myself in these pictures as a groomsman, singing a song to the couple. To this day, I have no memory of that event. 32 years old.
Well, I think
he testified to Congress, and he said, my greatest fear is that I will soon be trapped inside the coffin of my mind.
Well, like early Alzheimer's.
32!
Well, I think I've told this story on here before, so if I'm boring you, tell me. But there was a guy, and my father always told this story, Stash Szczepua, what a Polish name. But anyway, he, back in the 20s, played college football, and then played, I think, for a year with some team, some professional.
Yeah.
And then got all broken up. And people would say, like, he always say, if your kid wants to play, professional, come and have him see me. And this guy, I was very, very little when I met him once. But he was just all arthritis and broken over and 2 canes. And he said, and it's just this. He wasn't demented, but he said, look at me. I've been like this for 40 years.
Well,
and you want to get into this?
Right.
Yeah, you have the glory and all of that. And in those days, they didn't have these helmets, and the guys weren't as big as refrigerators. But no, it's horrible.
in a little town like Green Bay that has a professional football team, some of those players, especially from the glory teams of the 60s, they stayed in Green Bay. They have homes there, and so my mom, who's still there, certainly she knew many of them, and they belonged to the country club that existed then, right? And I remember her telling me it had to be 20 years ago, 25 years ago, or whatever, that she said, oh my gosh, she said, I was eating lunch, and I see this old crippled man walk in to the dining room. And then I looked and I thought, oh my gosh, that's Ray Nitschke. Now,
Who was a top player?
he was a Hall of Famer. He
Oh,
was
wow.
the toughest cookie
Sure.
you can imagine, Ray Nitschke. And when she's telling me the story, he was probably in his 40s.
Yeah.
And he was just crippled.
Yeah, that's it.
Crippled.
Sure.
They're all crippled.
No, because the point is, all right,
What
sure,
is-
we all, if someone would say that about you or me today or whatever, in your 80s, but when you're 40s, and then the point is, you're just dead to the world. I mean, no one wants you.
No.
Because nowadays they had something on I think it was 60 Minutes the other week or two ago about this training school for sports figures, but who are big and husky and handsome, to train them to be sportscasters. But no one wants some crippled old guy on a sportscaster.
No.
So you're wiped out. And these kids who just come out of college or in college, they break something, their career's over, because even if the league mends, they can't be a
Exactly
quarterback
right. So
again.
I know
It's horrific.
It's a real.
And these universities are making hundreds of millions of dollars. The coaches are paid more than the presidents of the universities.
Yes.
That's
My favorite thing is that they had to give the salaries of the five
Oh, right.
highest paid people at Pitt,
yeah, right.
and the top four
We're
are all coaches. And what
And
was even
Nordenberg
more
was the fifth?
mind-boggling, no,
He wasn't even the fifth?
no,
Oh, my
Nordenberg
God,
wasn't the
that's
fifth. I think it was head
outrageous.
of the medical school. But
Oh, I know him.
the
yeah.
top three were all football coaches, which is to say that Pitt...
Yeah, it's like the top one and the underling.
No,
ones.
it wasn't even.
Oh.
They were all three head football coaches because they hired this one guy and obviously got into a contract with him. He never even coached. He
But they
got
still have
into
to pay
some,
him?
yes. So they're paying him some gazillions dollars. Then there was a second coach who they also they got, and he's paid who knows what. And he left to get a more lucrative job, and they still had to be paying him. And then there's the current coach, I guess Christ is his name. And then there was Jamie Dixon, who's the basketball coach. Those are, and this is a
outrageous.
university,
Yeah.
right? This is a university. Yes. Okay. So soccer in Pittsburgh. Ansel writes. Speaking of what Tom said, as it turns out, many of the soccer clubs we have here in Pittsburgh have names associated with mining communities. Immigrants came to America to work in the mines, and they brought the game of soccer with them. We still have clubs here that bear the names of these mining communities, such as Beedling.
That's interesting.
I never heard of.
No, neither I.
Well, that makes sense, and that is
Yeah.
what you were
Yeah.
you were
Well,
suggesting.
the other thing is, I think, did we mention this last week? I can't remember. But back to soccer, the fact that this, what's it called, FIFA, they're another
Well, of course,
sleazy
all
organization.
of these organizations.
Like, I don't know if we talked
there's
about this,
pure
but
criminality.
they stopped in Brazil for a while any alcohol sales in the stadia because there were such horrible fights and. Well, then FIFA came in and said, "We have contracts. You will sell beer." A
Now,
nation
speaking
can,
of, okay, wait.
Ah!
You just said beer, and that brings me to this: the Steelers. Yeah, the Steelers, because the Steelers have, in a state of high dudgeon, jumped on Mayor Peduto for making a big deal
about the
mess after the whatever his name's concert last weekend.
country and western. something or other.
And Luke Bryan, I believe,
Maybe.
right?
I don't know.
Yeah,
Never heard of this
I never
person.
heard of him either. So anyway, the Steelers came out and said, "Well, we beg to differ. It brought in, 700, God knows, hundreds of thousands of dollars in amusement taxes, and those people."
Well, let the Roonies get out there with
those
a
people
shovel.
that you're denigrating, essentially, this event brought almost $1 million in taxes into the city. So we want to thank Mr. Country Western Singer and everybody else and tell Purdue. And I was thinking, well, wait a minute.
Well, I
That
want
is not
Art
even,
Rooney
wait,
and Dan Rooney to
That's
go out
not
there with
even-
shovels and hefty trash bags.
But that's not even the argument. What the argument is?
Disgusting.
Well, fine. There's lots of concerts in which the people who go,
Act. That's what
pay these amusement taxes,
Yeah.
and don't
Yeah.
trash
Yeah.
the venue afterwards or the city streets.
Well, when I was at...
it doesn't excuse their behavior.
When I was at the Warhol Museum, we would let, because we had an arrangement with the big, I can't think of his name now, Merrill Stabile, the big parking lot king, who's a great guy. Mm-hmm. So when we weren't open, like in the evenings or on Saturday evenings, Saturday afternoons, Sundays, we'd let our lots be used by him. And... I remember that one when they had the Jimmy Buffett. There was such slop. But you know who the worst ones were? Because this happened like every other week. Pitt. They would bring couches. And Pitt games would be at the couches and sanitary napkins. It was disgusting.
And then leave it. Just leave everything.
Oh, of course.
Someone else can clean up after us.
Someone else can clean up.
I mean, it's disgusting. I don't care how much money is brought in.
No,
you
I agree.
cannot allow that level of despicable, uncivil
I would,
behavior.
if I was mayor, hello, Bill, I would have the fire department come with hoses and just go to all those, what do you call that, tailgaters, and just swash them out with water. I'd love to do that.
Well, maybe,
Well, they said that some of those who come for those concerts, even though they've paid a ton of money for those tickets, never get into the stadium.
They're too drunk.
They're too drunk and fornicating on those old rotten couches.
Okay. Well, you stop.
You didn't have to see them on a Monday morning, my darling.
God.
It was disgusting.
Okay, well, I just want you to hold that.
It was like we were in somewhere in the Appalachian capitals.
Well, you are.
I know, the
This
Paris
is
of
Pittsburgh.
Appalachia. That's true.
It is
But I
Appalachia.
always tell people, but we do wear shoes here.
On occasion. Let's go to a break.
And we hold hands on
You
the
calm
street.
down. We're going to a break, and when we come back, I want to pick up on something you said.
Ooh, okay.
And that would be about the drunken behavior, because I want to do a scientific twist on it.
Oh,
It's
okay.
interesting. It
Okay,
really is.
okay.
In a moment.
Momo?
More is on the way with Lynn Cullen Live.
This is the sound of a flat-screen television hurled off a building. Now the new bike your kid wants. These are the things you could have, all cast into oblivion. Because when you throw away money on wasted electricity, you throw away everything you could have bought with it. Use Energy Star light bulbs and appliances, and you could save hundreds of dollars a year. Saving energy saves you money. Learn more at EnergySavers.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Energy and the Ad Council.
Pick up the Pittsburgh City Paper today. Still the #1 source for weekend fun in the Burgh. Go online now at pghcitypaper.com to vote in the 2014 Best of Pittsburgh Readers Poll and type in promo code CPJATIX for your chance to win Jason Aldean tickets. Vote now before it's too late. Pittsburgh City Paper available at over 1,700 locations throughout Western Pennsylvania and on the web at pghcitypaper.com and on your smartphone at citypapermobile.com.
Have a question or an opinion? Call Lynn Cullen at 412-316-3381 or email lynn at pghcitypaper.com. Now, more with Lynn Cullen Live.
Now we're going to have a disquisition on drink.
Yes.
I should say.
Howdy, and welcome to the science section of the Lynn Cullen Show. Oh, that's not even the name of the show, is it?
Burp.
Lynn Cullen Live. For the moment. All right. So, this is an we're going into the science of anthropology.
All right, yes.
And there is a book. This has been out forever. Mm-hmm. Called Drunken Comportment. This is a serious book.
Yeah, sure.
But it says that
Phone call.
We have a phone call. My God, amazing. Hello. Hello, caller. Hello, caller. Hello, you don't know what happened? Ah! No, forget it. Sorry, we got a who knows what.
A drunk called up.
So, what they're arguing is that the effect of alcohol or of a drug of any kind that is used as a social drug, that is a social drug, its effect on people is determined in large part by the culture.
I'm sure that's true.
Oh, okay, so listen up.
Oh.
He's trying to call again? Well, better luck. Here we go. Hello?
Hello, Lynn. Are you there?
Yes.
Hey, it's Michael from Polish Hill.
Hi, Michael.
I just wanted to... Wow, it's hard to hear you.
Yeah,
I
and
just
it's
wanted
too
to
loud.
chime in on that thing about the concerts and stuff and say, just beware of sounding like old fuddy-duddies when Sophie Maslow was saying, we don't want those deadbeats in our town, regarding the Grateful Dead concerts and stuff. And they used to try to ban punk rock concerts as well in Pittsburgh because of certain reasons. But look, and I don't like those white trash people. If they're wallowing in their white trash and they come from Cranberry or whatever and don't even pay city taxes. So, Anyway, I'm sorry. I got to go now. I got a refrigerator repairman here. I'll talk to you later. Thanks. Bye.
I was just going to say, Michael, it sounded like you were calling and vacuuming at the same time.
Right. It's funny. It's the first time I think I've heard white trash and Cranberry elided with one another.
I love it. I love it.
I do too.
I love it. Thank you very much, Michael, who is a punk rocker, the lead singer of the Cynics.
Oh. Well, the thing is, I think...
He's defending his ill-behaved audience.
Well, no. It's one thing, I think, to, Grateful Dead, that kind of music, and scream and yell and carouse and wear ripped-up leather jackets and what have you. But it's another to pee on someone's head or to throw a baby's dirty diaper into a picnic basket.
Well, I think
there's a little bit of a difference between the two. One is an aesthetic, and one is just bad manners.
Okay, yes, I agree. So anyway, they say that Americans have been culturally conditioned to allow the imbibing of alcohol to free them from what is considered normal comportment. So if you're drinking, well, you have a little too much and you're doing this and you're doing that. And they say that studies were done about drunken French, drunken Germans, drunken Brazilians, drunken who's and what's it's. And drunken Americans tend to fight and argue much more than other cultures when they're drunk. So that we think that getting drunk means that you can get loud and drunken and boisterous, but that's learned according to the anthropologists.
Well,
and they do say, I think, let me just get another culture
sure,
in. Was it Kenya? Kenya. In Kenya, it is not considered that alcohol frees you in that way. And so people who are very, very drunk will still maintain, if the situation, a level of comportment. So that how people act when drunk is learned behavior. People learn what it is to be drunk and what drunkenness permits. A lot of other cultures, when you drink too much, quite the opposite. You get quiet. You get what they call thick-lipped. You might get talkative, but you're not violent.
Well, I
think this is interesting.
Well, don't you think part of it is certainly, even if neither you nor I are from roots of English Puritanism, etc., but it does pervade our culture. And I think, when people say things, I'm sorry, I was drunk when I said so-and-so.
Right.
Well, I never believe that because the point is, yes, the drunk may, the inebriation or whatever may have loosened your tongue, but that comment like, oh, Lynn, you're a dirty old slut, I was thinking that. The drink made me say it.
No,
but it's not like, where would I have thought that?
Right. So I think, I know people who are what I would call mean drunks.
Yeah, right.
And I think all that happens is the alcohol gives them license in their own heads to exhibit this hostility or something that they normally have, and then that they're able to, say, oh, I'm sorry, I was...
Yeah, sure. Well, it's actually one of the worst things we hate is, like, if we inadvertently say something like, oh, I hate crippled mothers. And then I find out, like, oh, Tom, my mother was a cripple.
Cripple.
You know? Whereas the British, it's just the opposite. They will say, knowing that your mother, let's say, was a cripple, well, you know those crippled mothers. You know what they do to their children. I mean, they like to, if there's a sore spot,
they go right
for it because they feel it's good for you. What they're telling you about crippled mothers or whatever, Italian grocers or...
I just want to tell you that you have uttered a word that is no longer allowed.
Cripple? Oh. Well, but it is something. It's not a, a disabled mother.
No, and I want to say that I think cripple is a fine word.
Yeah, because
I mean, cripple means that I'm crippled right now.
Yeah, at the moment, yes, you are.
But they took, I guess what happened is they became used as pejoratives and so blah, blah, blah. But, political correctness can cripple us all at a certain point.
I'm bald.
Yes, you are. I didn't want to draw attention
But the point is, what word are you going to use other for it?
Chrome dome.
That sounds like a band performing at the A&E Pavilion. No, I mean, but it's a
chrome
word.
Domes.
Hey, Baldy. I mean, what else are you going to use?
I know.
Shiny pate. I mean, we have gotten crazy with those euphemisms.
And I mean, I can argue both sides of it because I know that I have said in the past that if I hear that a word is upsetting to somebody, then because I don't want to be a jerk, I'll avoid using it.
And if like a friend, I would say, oh, Lynn, really, I hate the word fag or something like that.
Right.
But like, you could say, because you're a Jewish person, Jew. Like, Lynn is a Jew. That's not an insult, but many people say, oh, well, what am I supposed to call it? A Hebrew?
Anyone. May I just say that
person.
anybody who thinks that the word Jew is a pejorative is, I think, an anti-Semite. Because how could it be a pejorative? It is exactly
right.
What I'm a Jew.
Well, I mean, I guess the point is though, but you could say it like you.
No,
Jew.
so you can always tell when people think Jew is a bad thing.
Yeah, right.
They'll say, and there's most Jews know this, especially those of us who come from very un-Jewish environments.
Clans.
Right. People will say, they stammer all over. Oh, well, I mean, you people of they're like, they can't figure out. And then
we love your corned beef.
I've actually heard, I think the funniest one I heard was the Hebrew persuasion.
Oh, jeez. That sounds like a band, too.
I know, it does.
The Hebrew persuasion. And everyone have payas and shawls and,
Yes, the chrome domes and the Hebrew persuasion. That is a good ticket. Yeah,
really?
Yeah, really.
I bet you he might be looking to tell you something, if not exactly, These band names. I remember at the Warhol when the person
anything
would do
goes
that.
now.
Why are these names? Like there's a Dead Warhols. I think they're sort of famous.
Yes. There's Dead Kennedys.
Oh, Dead Kennedys, yes.
Is that what you mean?
No, there's one called the Dead Warhols, too. Band.
But why would there be more than one Warhol?
Well, it's a band name.
Okay, but...
Oh, you mean the Dead Kennedys?
There are a bunch
John,
of Dead Kennedys,
Robert,
right.
And,
who? Teddy.
Well, he's dead. That's right. And John Jr.
Yeah.
Hunk that he was.
Oh, God, was he gorgeous?
Oh, God, he was incredibly gorgeous, yeah.
Lusting after the dead, are we?
Yeah, exactly.
It's just disgusting.
Next we'll go into vampirism. Suck my blood so I can live forever.
Okay, that brings us actually to, because he died. He died off Cape Cod, right?
Yeah, right.
No, Martha's Vineyard.
Well, that's in that same...
Yes, but if you don't know the difference, darling.
Oh, I know the difference.
Well, I'm sorry.
One is connected to land and one is an island.
That's correct, and I believe that would be Martha's Vineyard.
Yes.
Because I've been to both, but I can't...
Well, there's also... What's the other one? Martha's Vineyard, there's another island.
Nantucket.
Yes, right.
There once was a man from Nantucket.
It has a dirty ending, doesn't it?
Well, I think so.
Do.
Well, come on, fuck it. I mean, that's of course where you end up with that.
Yeah, they're so funny.
Nantucket. So, I was. I got this on the internet the other day, and it was one of these sort of etiquette columns. Here's the question: recently, someone bragged to me they were summering in the Hamptons.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Inquiring further, I discovered that they were only going for a week, which doesn't sound like summering to me.
Yes.
Is there a rule of thumb?
What defines summary?
When you can, suggest
or
that you've
a guest
been
who's on
summering.
stage is welcome.
Yeah. So he, the person who's answering it, absolutely said, yes, this guy was trying to give himself a status that he...
Put you on air, as we
Yes,
used to
exactly. Because a week's vacation is, on its face, not grand enough to rate as summering.
I had a friend who once was doing like boat maintenance, and for the whole summer in the honeymoon. Oh, I'm summering in the Hamptons, and someone said, "You're a goddamn skivvy."
But okay, how much time do you have to spend before you correctly call it summering? Mm-hmm. What would you say?
Oh, at least a month, I think.
Okay, well, this guy says at least 6 weeks.
Uh-huh.
And it would,
because what it suggests is you are important enough to be able to leave your office for a long time.
Or you have 2 homes.
Assistants.
Yeah.
And now what's crazy about it is, all these people who are summering there, are on their cell phones.
Okay,
and
but you know what?
computers
This
all day
brings,
long.
so then he goes into something that drives me crazy.
Mm-hmm.
He says, and it would be worthwhile to consider this braggart in the context of the larger American tradition of trying to impress people by telling them where we spend our vacations. Take, for example, those damn oval stickers you see on so many people's cars. And around here, most of them say OBX. You know what that means? You mean you've never seen them? How have you not seen them?
I can't even envision them.
They're almost as ubiquitous as
hand holding.
No, as Steeler or Penguin bumper stickers. OBX. That means.
I have no idea.
Outerbanks.
Oh, what? Oh.
OBX. And you'll show. Well, believe me, they're little.
Now
they're about this yay big. I can't do that. They're about yay big, and they have like 3 letters. And I'm thinking. Here's the one I don't get. And I've often wondered, why would somebody, who gives a damn?
It's like a merit badge.
But why is that? Why? I mean, I vacationed at the Outerbanks, as I said, for years when my kid was young. Why do I want to tell people that's where I
if it's a matter of prestige.
There's nothing prestigious about that.
Well, I agree, but to some people it is.
Okay, so they say that MV is Martha's Vineyard. Okay. Now, I haven't seen any of those. And here's the one for Nantucket, which is confusing. Because I have seen this and thought, what the hell is that? ACK. ACK. Why would that be
banned? Is that an airport maybe on Nantucket? I have no idea. Because it's certainly, I don't see where. There's no N, there's no...
I don't get it either. Anyway, a social scientist once explained to the New York Times that, quote, those oval bumper stickers stand out as the ultimate in gratuitous boasting. Mm-hmm. But I have to say, is that why people put them on? Because they think they're telling people, well, I don't go to Geauga Lake. Or I
don't even know what that is. You made it up.
Well, I don't go, to Conneaut. I don't go to. Well, you're out of it. You are just flat.
Where are these places?
I don't go to. They're vacation places.
Where?
But for more
in Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Oh.
Well, the first one I think so high.
Oh.
I don't know what I'm saying. Anyway, here's something from Ray.
Oh, what is Ray saying?
Lynn, it is not just litter. We're back to the concerts.
Oh, good.
After the Kenny Chesney concert, I was at a private club, and a young man was bragging that he took a 50-gallon drum, plastic pipe, plywood, and a toilet seat. What?
Well,
they constructed their own porta-john and were thrilled that they and their friends didn't have to stand in line. So they brought a 50-gallon drum, a plastic pipe, plywood, and a toilet seat. I asked him what he did with this contraption after the show was over. He looked at me like I was insane. I left it.
And the effluvia as well.
How disgusting. I turned to the city worker sitting next to him and asked how he felt about that. He told me the lot cleanup is a private company's job. A drum of feces and urine left for a private minimum wage worker to clean up. Animals. If a rap concert did this, we would have a major crime squad checking for DNA. I mentioned that yesterday.
Yeah, that's
if
true.
these weren't white folks, if these were black folks
that's
who
probably true.
trashed,
Right,
you think that
right.
all hell would not break loose?
Right.
And let us then think. You think black folks in this city don't go to their own concerts on occasion? You've never read an article like that.
And they've had to poop at a time.
And
I'm
they
sure,
have to.
And they get
do you
waited
know?
in
Yes,
line
black people poop too. They do. I know it might be for some
Hard
of
to
you
believe,
hard
but
to
they do.
believe, but you know, black people shit.
I'd love if someone just turned in at that moment. That's not what the show is about today, dear listeners.
And today's topic: black people shit.
But,
all right, okay. Well, I mean, jeez, it just drives me crazy. Anyway.
You know, it's almost like in a funny.
You know, we didn't even say anything. I want to say two things.
Yeah, say.
I thought Eli Wallach was a great
Oh,
actor.
he was an
And we were
extraordinary
talking
actor.
yesterday with Jared Day, who said there's a lot of great character actors who never get the kind of recognition they
course,
should.
yeah.
And then what? Eli Wallach drops
he
dead,
did some
and
of the
he is
greats.
marvelous.
Eugene O'Neill plays.
You know, and he studied at the same theater school I studied at. The neighborhood playhouse. And then,
Oh, my.
And then World War II happened, and he had to
Wasn't
go
he
off.
married to someone?
Yes,
who?
Ann Jackson, who was
that's
a
right.
marvelous
Is she
actress.
still alive?
No.
Yeah, she's a great actress. Yeah.
So, okay, I wanted to mention that.
Yes.
And I also wanted to mention, because everybody knows how much I love UPMC, that they won this narrow little victory that Judge Weddick, my neighbor, why does he always get these controversial cases? He always gets everyone every time our taxes
Maybe
go up.
he likes
he's-
them.
I don't. Is he the only damn county judge? Why is it every board? Stanton Weddick. He always gets. Who's a very dignified and fine fellow who drives like a little old lady. Because I used to often end up
I
behind.
hope you never have to.
I told him.
Before
I told him. I said I did come clean once.
Oh, I
I
see.
was out walking my dog and I saw him, unfolding himself from his
I
little
see.
old lady car, and because he's a very tall guy.
Is he
He's
elderly?
Lincoln-esque. He's
Oh, I see.
Lincoln-esque.
Is he an elderly gentleman?
I wouldn't call him elderly.
Okay.
He's my age. So I would.
Just a spit of a man.
Yes.
Snip of a man.
slip of a boy.
Slip of a boy, yes.
So I did say, Judge Winnick, hi, Lynn Cullen, I should tell you how do you do. I'm a neighbor. I just, in case somebody tells you, I was sort of saying something about you on the show today. I said, I sometimes when I'm heading off to work, you're heading off to work, and I end up behind you, and man, you drive me nuts.
His eyebrows, his Lincoln-esque eyebrows.
He started laughing
Oh,
because
I
he
see.
said that he'd been told that by other people. He makes complete stops, and then he goes this way, and he looks that way, and then he might even look that way again, and only after that.
You're mocking his circumspection.
No,
there.
he so follows the rule of law. It is
Wow,
so
he's
adorable.
probably a great
I
judge.
know. I have to tell you, I admire it, but 25 mph, give me a break. So anyway, drives me nuts. But he and he said this was. It turns out he agreed with UPMC that when they said they have no employees. So that's just the way it works on paper.
Yeah, right. Paper.
They do not themselves give out, paychecks. So he said the city sued the wrong entity. So the city lost with the UPMC thing. What they can do, obviously, is go back and sue
the appropriate
Presby,
right,
sue Shady Side, sue Mercy, sue every dang one of their dang subsidiaries that, in fact, do have employees. And I suppose he had no choice, because I guess that...
A letter of the law.
The letter of the law, and if anyone follows the letter of the law, it is Judge Stanton Weddick.
Well, on that, I think that is a very appropriate
end
and an honorable end.
Yeah. And I have to tell for people, ACK. It is Nantucket Airport.
Oh, I was right.
You were right.
Been there,
You were right. Nantucket Airport. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Well, see, you have to be somebody to know that. Because, personally, I have never flown into
But you've been to Ohio Pile.
Yes, I have.
With all of the... Isn't that the place where
And
all
I've been
the...
to Sturgeon Bay. How
but
about you?
But no.
Not to mention Dykesville, where I
dear.
honeymooned.
That sounds like a joke on Friends.
It's true. It's true.
I honeymooned in Dykesville.
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 D-Y-K-E-S.
Yes, right, exactly. No, Ohio Pile, that's the place not only with the rapids, but where all the Hells Angels go, right? No, seriously.
I don't know.
Hell's Angels have...
They like it. They like Ohio Pile.
So you have all these
It's a
Hells
lovely
Angels
place.
going
And why
down on
shouldn't-
inner tubes.
And why shouldn't Hell's Angels like Ohio Pile? And I want to tell you this, and then we're ending the show.
Yes, thank you.
Hell's Angels poop. Tomorrow. Thank you, Tom.
Are you auditioning for Annie?
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.